Over the Wire, Bandit 15. So we're in Bandit. I went ahead and logged in with the password that we saved from when we did Bandit 14, which is in our notes section. Okay, so we're going to log in, and I'm already logged in. I don't know why I said that. The goal right now is to get to level 16. So let's pop it open on overthewire.org/wargames/bandit/bandit16.html. There's a shortcut for you. So looking at this, I'm just diving right in. I'm not going to do any small talk with you. This one, I understand how to do this one, reading it right now, because I've worked with this type of command. This talks about networking, and it's building off of that networking, theories that you need to learn along with Linux. Because, and again, a lot of this stuff is manual in this capture the flag, right? So there's a lot of automation tools and GUI tools and stuff like that we can use. But this is to teach you how to use command line and how to be able to do whatever you need to off of just a command line, right? And that's my mindset here with this capture the flag. So reading it, the password for the next level can be retrieved by submitting the password of the current level to port 3001 on localhost. Remember, we used localhost last time, but this is using SSL and TLS encryption. So if you don't know about that, just a quick breakdown on theory. The internet was not built with security in mind as a part of its foundation. Surprise! So really, when the internet first came about, there was no security. And so I'm sure you've seen on a lot of websites nowadays, you'll see HTTPS at the beginning of every single website. It used to be just HTTP. So if you wanted to go to, for example, domain.com, you would go to http://domain.com. And even before we had what's known as name resolution, instead of domain.com, you had to type out the manual IP address. But now we have name resolution servers so that when you type in domain.com, it automatically resolves to putting in the IP address of the server that presents the website for domain.com. So that's why it makes it super easy. So as more and more security vulnerabilities were discovered, more people started using the internet. They actually start implementing security to encrypt the traffic done across the internet. And that's where SSL and TLS come in. So that is why you now see HTTPS instead of HTTP. So almost every website that's out there has HTTPS. It has encryption in the traffic just between, your browser, your computer, but that's not always the case. Like most modern websites do, but you should always double check, especially if it's a website that you're not familiar with. And that the ability to check on that is outside the scope of this, but I wanted to explain what SSL and TLS is. It's literally ensuring an encrypted communication across a network. Okay. Now, so this confuses me a little bit. They provide a helpful note, getting done, renegotiating, or key update, and it says read the connected commands section in the man page. That's not necessary. If you look at the different commands down here, and again, I'm blowing through this because I already know this, but you've got OpenSSL and SClient. That's actually a part of the same thing. So SSL and TLS encryption, I would just open up the man page for OpenSSL. I gotta learn to talk. So in Bandit, you can open up the man page for OpenSSL, and remember, you can also just Google it. Okay, and they had some helpful reading down there at the bottom that, Over the Wire always provides for everybody. But if you read here, OpenSSL is a toolkit that can do a lot of different things for implementing SSL, which is Secure Sockets Layer, and TLS. Those are both, network protocols that provide that encryption. Okay, so if you continue to scroll down, you'll actually eventually come across what you saw. So Over the Wire, they put OpenSSL, and then they also put S_client like they were two separate things. They're actually not. So if you look here, S underscore client is actually a portion of OpenSSL. And again, you can Google this to understand the syntax. You know, how do I make a connection with OpenSSL to my own server? And you can see what the syntax looks like. But basically, when you Google that, you'll see the syntax is OpenSSL, then S underscore client, and then dash connect. The dash is for our command line arguments when we're in a Linux terminal. And then we need to put the IP address, colon, and the port number, right? That's what you'll see. So that's why going back over here, these helpful notes right here just confuse me because they're not necessary to be able to solve this. At least I don't believe they are. I'm pretty sure. So basically we need to take level 15 password and submit it to port 30,001 on localhost using that connection. Okay. So in here, you probably just saw my background for a second, and that is okay. So let's just clear this out real quick. So the command, again, you can Google this, is OpenSSL S underscore client connect, and then it's localhost or the IP address. But again, the IP address is just localhost colon 30001. Okay. Now, yeah. So we see a bunch of random stuff here, and we can scroll up and look at all this random stuff. That's great. That's great. It's talking about the SSL session, the version, it's TLS version 1.3, the cipher, it's AES encryption, so advanced encryption standard, which is the encryption standard that should be used. It gave us the certificate. It gave us all of this. The interesting thing, though, is that down here at the bottom, you'll see it's just nothing's happening, right? The connection is made. The connection is actually made. And I'm thinking, okay, I need to submit the password from Bandit 15 to this connection, right? That's exactly what they say. So I've got my notes that I've been taking with the passwords for every level. I am copying it, and you won't see it, but I'm going to paste it in here. Oh, you do see it. Never mind. I'm used to when you're on a Linux terminal and you put in a password, it usually just doesn't show it. But that's the password for level 15, right? So even though this doesn't look like an official prompt or anything, you can see like the little blinker. It's just sitting there. So I copied and pasted it in. I'm going to hit enter. It closed the connection. Great. But it says correct, and it gave us the password for level 16. Okay. So it's as simple as that. That's what Bandit level 15 is. We just solved it, and I'm going to add it to my notes. But the important thing here is definitely study up on like networking connections, because networking connections don't just play into websites and doing things across the internet. It plays into making connections, you know, across just machines on a local network. And the reason why that's important, again, this capture the flag is supposed to help us learn Linux, and it's supposed to help us learn problem solving and different tools that we'll eventually use. If you're doing a pen test or a security assessment on a local network, you need to be able to learn how to make connections to other machines and pivot from machine to machine to move across the network. That's a really important thing. So yeah, I've got nothing else to say there. That's it. We got the flag. We'll move on to the next one.